Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Gates. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Beyond the Gates, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. I thought secrets were meant to protect us, but around here, they destroy everything. Ted swore he was done with Leslie, but one drunken night and a single mistake blew up lives he didn't even think about. Nicole found out in the worst way possible, holding his tie in her hands like proof of her humiliation. And while she tried to hold herself together, Doug went to the wrong man for help and nearly lost everything. Meanwhile, Dani and Andre drowned their heartbreak in booze, hatching a wild plan to escape to Vegas. Maybe even get married. We were all tangled in lies, betrayal, and desperate choices, and the truth. The truth always finds its way out. Ted's romp with Leslie and the fallout. I don't even know where to begin because everything that happened over those few weeks feels like one long, disjointed fever dream. Sometimes I think back and wonder if maybe I imagined it all. The lies, the confessions, the tears, and the betrayals, but then the scars remind me it was all too real. I guess I should start with Ted and Leslie because that's where the chaos really began for me. Everyone around here has known for years that Leslie was unpredictable. She could be charming in a way that made you feel like you were the only person in the room, but underneath, there was this desperation, this need to cling to anyone who made her feel relevant. And Ted was supposed to know better. The night it happened, I didn't even know Leslie had gone to see him. Eva, her daughter, told me later. Leslie had heard Ted was drunk, holed up in his hotel room, and she convinced herself he needed her. That's Leslie in a nutshell. Always inserting herself into someone else's spiral, as if playing savior could erase her own mess. She got him into bed, and that alone would have been bad enough. But Leslie being Leslie, she couldn't keep it quiet. The very next day, she bragged to Eva about it. Can you imagine that? Bragging to your own daughter about sleeping with her ex? And worse, she strutted around with one of Ted's ties like it was some kind of prize, waving it in Nicole's face, as if daring her to react. Nicole had been holding on by a thread. She'd been struggling with the idea of whether she could ever forgive Ted for all the hurt he'd caused her. She'd even told Anita, privately of course, that she had been thinking about giving him another chance. But Leslie's little trophy moment snapped something inside her. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about the humiliation. Nicole wasn't just betrayed. She was mocked. I'll never forget the look on Nicole's face when she confronted Ted. She tried to come in calm, but I could tell she was trembling inside. At first, Ted lied. He tried to gaslight her, acting like Leslie was exaggerating, like maybe it was all in her head. But then, for reasons only Ted could explain, he stopped himself mid-lie. He looked her in the eyes and admitted it. Yes, he said. It happened. That was it. 3 little words that shattered whatever fragile hope Nicole had left. And the worst part? You could see she still cared. That's what killed me. She wanted to hate him, but she couldn't. She still cared, and now she had to live with that knowledge like a weight around her neck. She told me later that it wasn't even the betrayal that broke her. It was realizing that his mistake gave her more ammunition in their divorce, and that the only way forward was to weaponize her pain. But while Nicole was unraveling, Doug was out there making his own mistakes. Poor Doug. He's the kind of guy who thinks loyalty means sacrificing yourself for people who don't deserve it. Vanessa had been cheating on him for months, running around with Joey while pretending she still cared about Doug. Everyone knew except him. Or maybe he knew deep down but couldn't bring himself to face it. When he finally decided to do something, he went to the wrong man for help. Bill. And that decision almost ruined him. Bill doesn't help people. He helps himself, always. So when Doug went to him, desperate for a lifeline, Bill turned around and ratted him out to Joey. I swear, when I heard about that, I couldn't decide whether to feel sorry for Doug or furious at him for being so blind. And then there was Randy, watching all this unfold from the sidelines, shaking his head like he couldn't believe Doug was still that naive. Randy refused to help with Joey's downfall, saying he wouldn't be a part of Doug being cuckolded again. But Randy wasn't done. No. He decided to recruit a confidential source to keep tabs on Bill, which, honestly, might have been the smartest move anyone made during this entire circus. Meanwhile, Anita had her own battles. Leslie came sniffing around, desperate for answers about Barbara, and Anita shut her down at first. Anita was like a fortress, always controlling the flow of information, guarding secrets like they were the only thing keeping her alive. But Leslie was relentless, vulnerable in a way that caught Anita off guard. Against her better judgment, Anita cracked and let slip a detail or two about her one-time bandmate, Barbara. And the moment the words left her mouth, I could see the regret on her face. Anita had always sworn she'd never share that piece of her past, but Leslie dragged it out of her like a thief prying open a lock. All of us were spinning in different directions, pulled apart by our own choices, our own secrets. And in the middle of it all was me, trying to hold on to the little bit of sanity I had left. Because while everyone else was making a mess of their lives, I was facing my own. See, what most people didn't know was that Samantha, Martin, and June were tangled in a whole other web. Samantha confessed to Martin that she'd almost had sex with Nathan. She stopped herself at the last minute, but the guilt was eating her alive. And instead of just leaving it there, she decided she needed advice from another woman. Not just any woman, June. June, who was barely keeping her own life together. June, who was about to lose her waitressing job at Orphe Jeans before she even finished her first day. June, who looked like she was one small push away from giving up completely. But fate has a funny way of stepping in when you least expect it. On that terrible first day at Orphe Jeans, a kind-hearted customer, a total stranger, stepped up and saved June from being fired. That little act of compassion changed everything. It gave her a second chance, a chance she desperately needed. And when Samantha came to her for advice, June wasn't sure she had the right words. But something about Samantha's vulnerability gave her strength. For the first time in a long while, June felt like maybe she had something to offer someone else. Tyrell, Samantha's brother, didn't like it at first. He thought Samantha was meddling in June's life, dragging her into something she wasn't ready for. But in the end, he came around. He supported his sister, realizing that maybe what June needed was exactly what Samantha was offering, a chance to feel like she mattered. While Leslie paraded Ted's tie around like some kind of victory flag, Derek was busy trying to navigate a different kind of heartbreak. Derek, he'd been through hell already. The accident that left him paralyzed had not only robbed him of the use of his legs, but also stripped him of the man he thought he was. When you're suddenly confined to a chair, you don't just lose mobility, you lose a piece of your pride, your independence, the way people look at you. Derek hated pity, but he couldn't stop himself from wondering if that's all people saw when they looked at him now. So when Ashley proposed, it hit him in ways I can't even describe. On the one hand, here was this incredible woman saying, "I choose you." Even like this. Even now. But on the other hand, Derek couldn't silence that cruel little voice in his head. Does she really love me? Or does she love the idea of saving me? He asked her that point blank. I remember him sitting there, his hands gripping the wheels of his chair so tightly his knuckles turned white, as he looked at Ashley with tears threatening to spill. Why would you want to marry a paralyzed man? Is this about me or about you wanting to play nurse? Ashley didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She just looked at him, steady as stone, and told him she loved him. Not the way he used to be, not the idea of what he could be, but him. Derek, as he was in that moment. Eventually, he believed her. Or maybe he just wanted to. Either way, he accepted her proposal. And that should have been a joyful moment. But when Ashley ran to tell Andre the news, Andre's reaction was complicated. He smiled, sure, but there was something behind his eyes. A sadness, maybe even jealousy. I think part of him wanted to be happy for her, but another part couldn't shake the feeling of being left behind. And Andre wasn't the only one questioning things. Shanice pulled Ashley aside and told her something Derek hadn't. He'd started regaining feeling in his legs. He'd chosen not to share that with Ashley, maybe out of fear, maybe out of guilt. Shanice knew, though, and she wasn't about to let Ashley live in the dark forever. When Derek was moved to outpatient care, Ashley asked him to move in with her. He agreed. Outwardly, it looked like progress. But inside, Secrets like his don't stay buried forever. Meanwhile, Dani and Andre were unraveling in their own way. They'd seen Bill and Chelsea planning a celebration, and jealousy twisted its knife deep. Hayley, always the manipulator, seized her chance. She staged a scene, making it look like Tomás was seducing her, and made damn sure Bill was there to see it. The thing about Bill, though, is he's not as easy to fool as Hayley thinks. He caught on to the ruse, but instead of blowing it up in her face, he played along.
Why?
Because Hayley had one demand: remind Dani that she was the only woman in his life. Bill agreed. Not because he loved her, no, Bill doesn't really love anyone but himself, but because keeping Hayley under control was easier than letting her spin loose. The fallout for Dani and Andre was brutal. They sat together, drowning their sorrows, the weight of betrayal and loneliness pressing down on them like an anchor. And in that haze of booze and desperation, they came up with an idea. A reckless, impulsive idea. Vegas, Andre said, raising his glass. We could go to Vegas. Forget about all of this. Dani laughed at first, thinking he was joking. But then Andre leaned closer, his voice softer, almost daring her. We could even get married there. It was half a joke, half a challenge, and Dani couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. All she knew was, in that moment, the idea of running away from everything sounded like salvation. But not everyone had the luxury of running. Chelsea was still reeling from her kidnapping. People think once you're rescued, it's over. But it's not. Trauma doesn't just evaporate. Chelsea couldn't stand being online, couldn't bear the thought of strangers watching her, judging her, maybe even plotting against her. The very idea of promoting her rescheduled Chelsea cat launch made her sick to her stomach. But Anita wasn't about to let her granddaughter hide forever. She sat Chelsea down, held her hand, and told her that strength wasn't about pretending nothing had happened. It was about standing up even when your knees were shaking. Anita convinced her to do the launch as a live stream, with the feed monitored for any troublemakers. Safety nets in place, yes, but still a leap of faith. Anita also turned her attention to Kat, urging her to make amends with Tomás. Kat, stubborn as ever, pushed and pushed until Tomás finally relented. He surprised her with a romantic dinner, candles, soft music, the whole cliché. It should have been perfect, but Kat couldn't go through with it. When the moment came to take things further, she froze. Worse, she blurted out the cruelest thing imaginable, that he wasn't good in bed. The words slipped out like venom, and the instant she said them, she knew she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Tomás walked out, leaving her staring at the wreckage of what could have been. And that's when Hayley's little game with Bill detonated across the group, pulling Dani and Andre even deeper into their spiral. It felt like every single one of us was standing on shifting sand, clinging to whatever scraps of stability we could find. Some of us chose lies. Some chose reckless love. Some chose to hide. And a few of us, like Anita, chose to push forward no matter the cost.